Welcome. This is Deborah Leanne, and it is time for our monthly Leadership Luminary. And this week's and month's speaker is the gracious Pam Lobb. Pam has been a light in my life for about a year now, where we met in a business leadership mastery course. And I am delighted to interview her today and learn a little bit about her story so that we too can see ourselves in overcoming adversity and becoming a true light to shine in the world for other women on the path. Today, I wanted to introduce to you our Pam, who is, after having, please cut that out, Carmen. After a lengthy battle with her own health issues and following the death of her husband, it would have been easy for Pam to hide away from the world, to grieve, live a staid and boring existence, and to carry on fighting her hormones. But instead, Pam chooses to grasp life with both hands, and over the last few years has transformed into a joyful, sassy, healthy, adventurous goddess who no longer wants to play small. Pam wants to share her journey with you and help you to have a joyful life that you love. As a speaker, coach, trainer, and #1 international best-selling author with Amazon, Pam helps and inspires women who are finding the middle years of their life difficult due to long-term health issues, menopause, stress and anxiety, problems at work, or with relationships. Women who want instead to feel joyful, attractive, relaxed, healthy, and fulfilled. Pam has shared her strategies on local radio, at networking events, and in support groups, and is featured in the 2014 Bounce Back Queens World Summit. Pam is a co-author in the #1 best-selling book, Procrastination Begone, 11 Ways to Spark Your Motivation and Light Up Your Business, and author of her upcoming book, Beyond Hot and Crazy, a radical guide to living well with menopause. And I just want to say how delighted I am to have you here, Pam, and I am so excited about seeing what we're going to delve into today.
Thank you for having me, Deborah.
You're welcome. We'll take this back to share. Hello.
Hello.
So I am curious if we can start off with you giving us a little bit of a background story. Before all of that tragedy happened in your life with your husband, can you tell us what was your life like, and who were you then?
I guess back then life was pretty ordinary. I trained as a nurse originally, and then we moved to the north of England with my husband's job. And I started doing an occupational health job, which was what I was trained in, and I got made redundant. So I went to work for my husband part-time just to help them out. We were just starting the business, and stayed there for 6 years doing all the support. I always said I'd never work in an office, but I spent 6 years working in an office, working with computers, doing support calls, support paperwork. During that time, I had my daughter, and worked through the pregnancy and actually basically full time right through the whole of Katie's early years. And then I had my son and actually became a full-time mum at that point. And so life was, revolving around the kids, the house.
Lots of work if you were working full-time up until that point too.
Yeah. So I was working full-time till James, and then became a full-time mum.
Nice.
Which was great in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's,
so what kind of mom were you? Were you the one that did lots and lots of things with your kids, or did you get involved in their school in terms of volunteers? Were you involved in the community? Just curious what kind of activities kept you busy back then. Because I know you weren't doing nothing.
Yeah, no, I can't do nothing. It's not my so I just can't do that. So yeah, I got involved with the local play group. Then when the kids started school, very much involved with the Parent-Teacher Association at the school. The kids' school went through a bad time, and it looked like it was going to be sold. And we did a big campaign around saving the school, and that took up a lot of time and energy.
Yeah.
So,
See, that's where you're that kind of person to support that. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, so when this cushy life was interrupted with the tragedy, tell me, was it how long did it take you to bounce back, or to get back to feeling like you and start doing more of the stuff that brings you joy again?
During my kids' early years, the time I was just explaining about school and stuff, I started with my own health issues. I had severe endometriosis, and the pain got to the point that it was nearly all month rather than just around the time of my periods. It started with just period pain, and it just grew and grew and grew. I can remember driving to school, clutching the steering wheel with the pain, because painkillers just didn't work. All they did was knock me out.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't function. So, and they didn't help the pain, so I just stopped taking them. So, I guess that was the start of my personal development journey, was learning ways to cope that were different from the medical model.
And so that's kind of what opened the door for you to shift some of the things in your life, moving from traditional medicine to alternative, or?
Yeah, it was alternative medicine. It was actually my reflexologist that actually diagnosed the endometriosis. The doctors kept telling me it was irritable bowel, it was in my mind.
Oh my.
You're a woman, live with it, all that sort of garbage.
That is good. Thank you. And you said, besides just the switch over to a different type of alternative medicine, that you also started on a personal development path. Did you, was it through books or trainings or coachings, or can you share a little bit more about that?
It was a combination. It started off with looking what else was available. So looking at self-help books. The internet wasn't that big back then, so that wasn't really a huge source. It was more sort of talking to people.
What year are we talking about here?
This was 1995, 6.
Okay, so 20 years ago.
Yeah. Gosh, it's hard to believe it's that long ago. And then a friend introduced me to Landmark Forum. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Mm-hmm. And I did their weekend. And that did truly transform my life. Mm-hmm. It really started me on the development journey, giving me confidence that I didn't have. From that, I started doing a degree in psychology with the Open University. I got involved with the Endometriosis Society and trained as one of their expert patient tutors. Which was great, because that really showed me that what I started doing for myself from first basics, from just purely trial and error, was actually already out there and being used.
Nice.
Within the community. So it was really good.
You started supporting other women that were in. Okay, cool. And then I'm sure that I'd love to hear more about this in more detail, but just to honor our time, I wanted to go to the arc of how did you get into the world where I met you, through Art of Feminine Presence and being in this business leadership group. I'm just curious how you found this work.
It's a mystery, actually, even to me. After my husband died, I got very involved with coaching and counselling training. And I was looking for a coach training, and I kept going to sign up with something, and it just didn't quite fit. And I eventually came across Christian Pankhurst, who's the heart intelligence coach.
Uh-huh.
And I listened to his call and signed up within like 5 minutes. It was what I'd been waiting for ever, probably, without even realising it. And through Christian, I met Rachel Jane. And through that, we started Art of Feminine Presence and joined her business mastery program.
Nice. And then there's some more fast forwarding, because a lot has shifted for you just in the last year that I've known you. And when did you write your first book?
This is last year now, in 2015. We, a group of us got together and did the Procrastination Begone with Monica Mondell was the lead on that, who was one of Rachel Jones' coaches. And so a group of us came together and wrote that. I was already in the process of writing my own book at this time.
Okay. And that's what I'm curious about, because I know it's getting ready to come out. So I would love if you would share a little bit about what inspired the book first, and then a little bit more about when we can get that.
What inspired me was the desire to help other women not to have to go through what I went through. And a lot. In
terms of endometriosis, or in terms of bouncing back from tragedy, or what?
It's a combination, the endometriosis, the loss of my husband, the journey that I've done through pretty much trial and error of what works, what doesn't work, then fine-tuning it, using those techniques with clients and finding that they worked for others as well as myself, and just wanting to share it with a wider audience.
Okay, cool. And one of the things I wanted to ask about that is, it specifically for women that are going through or struggling with hormones, which actually could be any time, or is it specific to menopause, or is there...
It's generally a self-help book. I mean, even men could read it. There's one chapter that's specifically menopause based.
Okay.
Now, I felt I needed to have a niche to market it to, and specific. But a lot of what I believe causes the problems in menopause is stress, diet, limiting beliefs, disconnection from who we are as women.
Definitely.
And that's true for all women.
Yeah.
And it's also good for the men in our lives to know as well. So
brilliant. Yeah.
So a large part of the book is very generic.
But that is so true. Unresolved relationships. I remember hearing someone say once, before I went into menopause, but that every hot flash we experience was, I think it was Christiane Northrup said this, that every hot flash we experience is another unresolved issue that is waiting to be healed. And I thought, are you kidding? And so then when I started having them, I thought, I must have bazillions of
we all have, don't we? It's always stuff.
Talk about being in denial. So I would love to ask you, one of the things that I have always been interested in, I guess it comes from many, many years in human resources, is tell me about your innate strengths and gifts. What do you think you were born with that, a couple of those strengths that you have brought forward in your work so far?
Probably the biggest one is determination.
And is that just can it be overused as stubbornness, or is
it could be overused as stubbornness. I actually had that thrown at me a couple of times. Working with shadow work, I would have denied it in the past, but I can own it now.
I'm thinking more about tenacity. So you were born with I can do this, and I'm just going to keep moving for it. Is that what you?
I think so. I think it's also developed. I think it was there to a degree, and then life events has made it stronger.
Okay. Yeah. I almost feel like it's an adaptive or a learned skill, and I think when you came out of the womb, you didn't say, "I'm going to be determined." No,
I don't think so.
But I'm thinking in terms of if you knew what your natural gifts were, that you knew that you came in to this life and you're like, oh, that comes easy to me. Might be some of your light shadows, right? If we use those terms.
I actually, it's funny, I always struggle with the light shadows. I can own I can own the dark ones really easily. It's the light ones that always pull me up. They're the ones that I've had to do the most work with to actually own.
And let me just take a minute here to explain for anyone who's listening that what we're explaining here is there's a combination of gifts that we have and both sides to our brilliance, right? So if we admire someone who is an amazing speaker on stage and they are dynamic and charismatic and articulate and they just have this brilliance about them. What we also need to realize is they are mirroring back our own brilliance and our own charisma and our own dynamic ability to speak. And very often we don't want to own those about ourselves. So we call those light shadows versus dark shadows, which are the things like maybe being stubborn or some of the things that we don't necessarily want to look at in ourselves. So both sides are things that we are hiding from, which keeps us from being our most authentic self. So now you can step into what would be some of your light shadows now that we've explained that.
The light shadows I probably struggled with the most were wise, successful. Successful's been a really hard one. It still comes with a but occasionally.
Good one, though. At least you're catching it. So,
I was just trying to think ones that have gone out of my head. There's a whole load of them.
You're a good writer. And you think clearly when you write. So there's some people that would never consider writing a book because they can't imagine putting their words to tell the story cohesively. So you must be good at that, right?
I think I probably am now. I've never been formally diagnosed, but I am dyslexic. Both my kids have been formally diagnosed. And so it's not something that comes easy. I was always told at school I was stupid, I was no good at English. My spelling's atrocious, so thank goodness for spell check. My grammar leaves a lot to be desired also. But I write as I speak, and that seems to be appealing to people.
Well, there you go. So you have a natural style that you found and you're using.
Yeah.
And how about speaking? I see that you're doing more speaking. What is your signature speech on?
It varies. Basically, all my work's around health-related issues.
Okay, and that's what I want to jump into. Tell me how you got into this you look amazing. I hadn't seen you in a while, 6 months or so since our August time together. And I mean, you were just glowing when I saw you for the first time Saturday morning. So tell me about what's shifting for you health-wise. In March, I discovered a program called Personal Health 360. And what it's looking at is, it comes from the basis that we can change our epigenetics, that our genes we're born with a set of genes, and only 5 to 10% of them are set in stone. And the rest of them very much depend on the environment, which is our epigenetics. Right.
So it's our diet, our exercise we do, the people we hang out with, the environment we live in internally and externally, how our mind works. So we're doing jobs that we love. So everything in our environment, it's the whole right. 360 degrees, it's everything. And so I've been following that program. I've trained as one of their coaches, and just being so much more specific on the foods that are right for me. You know, we're told that foods are healthy.
Right.
You know, and yes, they are, but they're not to all of us. You know, for example, tomatoes and peppers are not particularly good for my body, but they're really healthy foods.
Right.
So what's great about the Personal Health 360, PH 360, is it tells you specifically what foods are right for your body type.
I love
and what
that.
exercise is to do for your body type.
Okay.
And the best environment, you know, the best environment for me, for example, is hot and dry. I'm living in the wrong place because I live in England, which is wet, cold, and miserable.
Are you going to be moving to the Southwest in the US, or?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to be moving. I will move one day. So but because I live in the wrong environment, and you know, there's something that's not easy to change. I know that I need to wrap up warm when I'm going out. I need to have more warming foods, that sort of thing. So it's amazing how just the little things are making a big difference. So food is a big part of it, but the rest of it is actually as important. So, you know, it's sleeping at the right times of day, exercising at the right time of day for me.
Right.
And it's all adding together, and I'm just getting healthier and healthier.
Is it based on Ayurveda, or is it based on, is it strictly on, is it blood type? Is it, I'm just curious how do they determine this?
It's
I've heard of Ayurveda, and I've heard of
it's Ayurveda is a big part of it. What PH360 has done is brought together a whole heap of different modalities.
Okay.
So it starts, like, you know, with our epigenetics, and you can go and have gene testing, which is incredibly expensive. You know, it's into the thousands of dollars. But what they've discovered is that from measuring our bodies, which is it's called anthropometry, and it's the ratios of our body, you know, our wrist size, our jaw size, our head circumference, hand and foot size, etc. They can predetermine what our genetic expression typically is, which is our biotype.
Wow.
And it's incredibly accurate. It blows my mind. You know, I've been using this program for 9 months, and it blows my mind how accurate it is. You know, working with a variety of clients now, there's thousands of people now in the program, and it's, as I say, it's extremely accurate. You know, it tells you how your mind works, what risks of diseases you've got from your health history. So it brings together a whole heap of things. It's like 10,000 points that it works through, the information you give it.
That's fascinating.
And so it then kicks out a program that's it's specific for you. So, you know, we could end up with the same biotype, but our health history and our where we live, etc., is different.
Got it.
So it then also stuff. So everything is specific 100% to you.
That's fascinating. And are you a coach or a certified person to provide this service to people, or?
Yeah, I'm one of those certified personal health coaches.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit, this is my next question anyway. So tell me a little bit about where you're going with this new twist in even your new, your logo and your branding is so beautiful. And I'm just curious, I know you've got something up going. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to now.
So I'm really working with, you know, PH360 is now the core of my work, because it means that I can be really specific with my clients. If they've signed up for the PH360 as part of the working with me, I can really totally gear my coaching to them, because we've all got different styles.
Right.
And I now know instantly what their style is. I mean, to a degree, I can tell now by just looking at people. I'm getting better and better at being able to go, oh yes, I think you fit here. But it means I could be really, really specific with them, which is making my coaching much more proficient and much more dynamic, because it's unique to you. I mean, it always was unique to you, but it's now so much on a much deeper level than it ever has been before.
Very cool. And if someone wanted to one of the things I want to talk about before we close is I want to make sure that everybody knows how to reach you. And so if you will tell us the best way for people to reach you, we'll go ahead and put that up at the end of the video so that people can have that link. But so are you doing group programs or one-on-one coaching, or how does one work with you?
At the moment, it's mostly one-on-one. I am planning to do some more group work in the near future as I build up a bigger client base around this.
Uh-huh.
And I already do group work for Art of Feminine Presence.
Oh.
And Heart Intelligence.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
So do people come for weekly Art of Feminine Presence sessions, or do you add the Heart Intelligence? How does that, or do you combine it all into a half-day workshop, or how do you do it?
typically now it's all beginning to merge together.
Yeah.
I typically do day workshops. I find that works better for timing. I travel quite a bit. Trying to get 5-6 weeks in a block is difficult quite often for me and for others. So on face-to-face work, I do typically one-day workshops.
Okay.
But I do a lot of my work on Skype and on Zoom, what we're using today, across the internet. So I can work with anybody worldwide. And I've got clients in Australia. I've got clients here in the US, as well as in the UK.
Very, very cool. And this brings me to a couple of things. We didn't quite finish the whole strengths and light shadows things, but there's something about your love of travel that's big and needs to be looked at, I think, because it's a huge part of who you are. I mean, I just saw that you were on Facebook down in hiking in the Smokies or something.
Yeah. Yes, last week.
And I'm like, okay. And then the last time when you were leaving, the last time I saw you, you were heading to Michigan to do some stuff up in the it's one of the beautiful towns, the resort towns in Michigan. And I thought, God,
Traverse City. My daughter lives in Traverse City.
Yeah, you're like more places than people that live here in the United States go to. So I'm just curious, is this a new thing, this love of travel, or is this just a way for you to expand your knowledge of the world, or what is it about travel that you love so much?
I think it's always been there. It's something that's become much more active actually since my husband died. One of the first things we did to cope with his death was, he died just after Christmas, and Christmas had such, huge implications for us. It's my birthday as well. So the first year we went to South Africa, the kids and I, on a tour, and I think it was always there, but that really sparked it. And I've been traveling ever since. I mean, we always traveled quite a bit, but much more locally, and it's just expanded.
Right.
And as the kids have got older and independent, I can travel much more on my own. So it's really helping.
And don't you see a correlation to people who are well-traveled? This is my opinion, but I'm curious if you've noticed that people who travel more, they have a broader, really a global view of our planet, of humanity, I think there's a more embracing of the differences kind of attitude and perspective. Would you agree with that? Or? Oh,
definitely. I think it's, as you incorporate different cultures, you begin to understand that we're different, that we are all unique. It comes back to the PH360, our uniqueness, but we are also very alike.
Right.
There's a lot of similarities between us, just because we're a different culture, or a color, a different culture, fundamentally we're the same underneath.
It's very true. And then the other thing I wanted to ask, and this is just because I'm a leadership 360 person, right, too, and I talk about strengths because we use our strengths as a way for us to grow even more dynamic, and it's those light shadows. If we really focus on those, wow.
Yeah.
Become. Not that we don't focus on the dark shadow, but this new leadership 360 thing I'm going to be doing is called Leadership Circle, and it's very much around that, and it looks at the bottom half of the reactivity that we don't, the stuff that runs us that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
I'm thinking how beautiful that would combine with the health one, just because it would give you this, just like we're in personal leadership as well as business leadership mastery, you need to have both the personal to support the business, and they, what a beautiful full picture you would have of your life that way, right?
Yeah, I agree totally. Yeah.
So what I'm looking at is, if you were to look at some of the things that you had to learn or overcome, that were maybe things that were holding you back. So, okay, we were talking about conflict and confronting so that you can resolve, right? What was something that you've had to, in the last number of years, really confront and overcome to get to where you are now?
I think the biggest thing for me was my own lack of confidence, my lack of belief in myself. I think those were probably the two really big sticking ones, and having confronted them and worked through them, they still kick up, oh my God, what am I doing? But I can just go, okay, just just work through that fear now. You know, I don't let the fear stop me anymore.
And that's what I would love to ask. If you had, 30 seconds or a minute or so on stage to share one of your tips to help you with overcoming your self-doubt or to regain your confidence in that situation, would you share something with us so that we can see a little bit more about how you work and what tips and tools you've used to overcome that being seen and heard thing?
I think the biggest thing was it came from the death. I think I always knew it. I've been a nurse, but it really came home in reality after my husband died too soon. You know, he was 50 when he died. Is that life matters, to make the most of every day. You know, I love Brendan Burchard's words: live, love, matter.
Yes.
It just sums it up.
Yes.
And I think it's all about the quality of life and doing the best we can for ourselves, for our health, so that we can give to others. I'm very much about, and I teach a lot with my clients, is putting yourself first. And the fact it's not egotistical. You know, it's like the oxygen mask on the plane. We have to put our oxygen masks on first before we help anybody else, because if we don't, we pass out and potentially die, and no help to anybody.
Right.
So a lot of my work is geared around helping women to step into owning that they're important and put themselves first, and that by doing so, they can actually give more rather than giving, and then burning out.
Yes.
And they come to me in collapse.
Yes. That wait until their health is like all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm having these health fears before I really realize how important I am. And I wish we could get a way to stop that process from getting to the place where their health is in danger before. It's like, I don't know, maybe in 2 more generations we'll be even closer to get the younger women to start honoring that earlier on. Yeah.
I mean, that's the plan with PH360, is that we're on a mission to prevent all chronic disease by 2050.
Oh, I love that.
That's our world mission.
I love that.
So that's 2050. And it's doable if we get the younger generation. Mm-hmm. You know, for our generation, it's helping them to start seeing that they need to put their personal health first.
Right.
People in the younger generations, if they start taking care, they shouldn't get menopausal symptoms. Menopausal symptoms are a sign that something's out of balance.
Right.
So if we take care of our health in our 20s and 30s, you should sail through menopause with basically no problems whatsoever.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing?
So
that's a beautiful vision, and that was the next thing I was going to ask for you personally is where's next? What's your next? I know you have a North Star that you're heading towards, but what's next for you in the next couple of years? And do you have a 3-year plan? Where are you going?
I sort of got a plan, but it keeps changing because things like come into my life. I didn't even know 360 existed this time last year. So my 3-year plan is very much about pushing out personalised health to the world. I'm fully supporting PH360 in their vision. I'm working closely with them to reach as many people as we can globally to prevent chronic disease and let everybody have the best health they can, and that's my mission.
Do they have any studies, or are they doing anything philanthropically, like to support a community that is in, because my biggest thing is I think the poor communities who can't afford and don't get the education on how to take care of themselves, we're going to be supporting that 80% or 90% of the planet soon if we don't provide a more universal education around health. And I'm curious, is PH360 doing something to support some community somewhere to study the program? Or?
there's lots of research going on. We're heavily involved with people in the Amazon. Matt Spoon, who's the founder, has done a lot of work in the Amazon. To join the program, the prices at the moment, it's $197 a year, which I mean is nothing for personal health. And I mean, what this program gives you, it's worth millions. I don't know about thousands of dollars. It's worth millions of dollars because there's no price on your health.
Right.
And so for $197 a year, you're getting an incredible program.
I love that.
And we're just about to start next month the crowdfunding campaign to raise money. We want to make it fully interactive. So the program tells you a lot already, but the idea is we're crowdfunding to get the money to make it interactive. So it will tell you, for example, it's coming up to supper time. What do you want to eat today? Do you want to eat in? Do you want to eat out? And if you say you want to eat out, it will look at local restaurants and the menus compared to your biotype and go, oh, you know, the restaurant down the street has got carrot and coriander soup today and turkey and, you know, so things that are right for your food type. Shall I book you a table?
I love that. That's very cool. I know that the days are going to be soon where we have our Apple Watch and it tells us everything to do and how to dress and the whole bit.
Well, that's good to be, you know, and it will tell you things like there's a flu epidemic right now in your local neighborhood. So we advise you not to use public transport.
Wow.
So it's going to take in, you know, unlike, you know, it's time for your exercise or you haven't drunk enough today. That's the whole interactive side that's coming.
I love that. And adjust it if you're in the dry mountains of Colorado that you need to drink more. Yeah. More water, that is. So on closing, I just want to ask real quickly, if someone wanted to reach you, if they were curious about PH360, if they wanted to just talk to you about your private coaching or to have you speak, what's the best way to reach you?
Best is through my website, www.pamlob, that's PAMLOB.com.
Okay.
And it's got all the information about PH360, my work, art of feminine presence, heart intelligence, and there's a contact form on there.
Lovely.
And I'd love to hear from people.
That would be great. Well, I will see you shortly as we get started. Pam and I are, in full disclosure, we're together at a business leadership intensive this week in Golden, Colorado. And so hence the beautiful hotel rooms you're seeing in the background. I like how you have your TV covered. Brilliant. So I will see you shortly. And thank you so much for your time this morning. And I look forward to getting this out to all of our listeners.
My pleasure. Great to speak to you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Okay.